Yeah, so in the state of Georgia, a gal by the name of Fawny Willis, uh, well, she's a district attorney over in Fulton County, and what what she's done, you see, is enforce the law. It's a novel thing, I know, but that's what she's done. And it turns out the person that she says that she can prove in court broke the law is Donald Trump and 18 other dingbats. Here he is, our beloved Brian Tyler Cohen, excuse me, our beloveds Brian Tyler Cohen and Glenn Kirshner, breaking down exactly how much trouble these cats are in. Donald Trump specifically.
You're watching the legal breakdown. So, Glenn, Judge Chutkan told Trump that any inflammatory remarks would lead to a faster trial for him. Now, Trump has done
I know. We're talking Fulton County. Hear me out. First 5 minutes.
exactly that with an early Monday morning tirade attacking her and Jack Smith. What do you expect should happen now?
It feels like Donald Trump is walking one step closer to a jail cell every day. And when I say a
Hmm.
jail cell, I don't mean because he's going to be convicted of a crime anytime soon. That is still sort of well off in the future. But he's going to end up in pretrial detention, sitting in a jail cell because of all of the inflammatory, threatening, intimidating, and harassing things that he's been saying and he's been posting. Much of it seems to be in violation of the pretrial release order set by Judge Chutkan.
Well, now, is there a world in which Trump's refusal to comply with these orders, aside from a sooner trial date, which seems to be almost assured at this point? It was the government who asked for a January 2nd, 2024 trial date. Given Trump's inability to control himself, it seems like that's more and more likely. But could this result in him being actually remanded to custody? Like, could he end up in jail pending trial? And what would he need to do for that to actually become a reality?
It could land him in a pretrial jail cell, and it should land him in a pretrial jail cell. The problem is
Boom.
there really is no playbook to follow because, based on my 30 years as a prosecutor, Brian, when I saw a defendant engage in this kind of conduct, this kind of speech, threatening and harassing witnesses, lashing out at the judge, trying to undermine the public's confidence in the fairness of the proceedings, trying to poison the jury pool, any other pretrial defendant would have been ordered into detention, into a jail cell long ago, and that is where he would sit pending trial. But with Donald Trump, it doesn't seem like the rules of convention apply. So, what would he need to say? What would he need to do? What would he need?
I'll let the man finish. My God, he's earned that. But yeah, that was them talking about Chutkin and violating the rules. My understanding is that if Trump is violating the rules in Georgia, for example, that's if he's interfering, for example, with an investigation in Georgia, if he's tampering with that trial, that's not. I mean, it doesn't matter. Chutkin can still say, "Man, told you not to interfere with the court. You're going to a jail cell." But more importantly, he should not still have the opportunity to do this. And I think that's. I mean, I don't know how much clearer it needs to be made, but what is so very interesting is that Donald Trump is not giving authorities any choice but to treat him like a regular person. He's accidentally striking a major blow for the common man by showing how unfairly the common person, I should say, excuse me, is treated. Because Kirshner's right. He's right. Anybody else would have been in a jail cell by now. Let's let him finish and see what the but is. But these crimes are so audacious that we have no precedent for them. Could that be it?
need to post in order to actually land himself in jail? It seems to be an open question. Hopefully, we will know soon enough when he ends up back in court before Judge Chutkan.
Well, to that exact point, he's supposed to end up back in court on August 28th. Do you think that Judge Chutkan will order the parties to come into court sooner, given Trump's unhinged outbursts and also the need to protect the jury pool?
I think she should. I don't think you want to wait until August 28th to see how many more witnesses he might try to intimidate or how else he might try to sort of impugn Judge Chutkan's independence, her impartiality, her fitness to sit. He's using words about her in his posts and in his speech like biased, unfair, partisan, and he actually reposted that said something about she's admitted to trying to interfere in the election, in his campaign, in his ability to, be elected again in the future. All of that is flat out false. It tends to undermine the public's confidence in Judge Chutkan and in the reliability of the court proceedings. So I hope she doesn't wait until the 28th of August, which is the next scheduled status hearing. I hope she hauls him in sooner for what's called a show cause hearing. That's when a judge believes a pretrial defendant may have violated a condition of release, and the judge will order the defendant, together with his defense attorneys, to appear and show cause as to why his conditions of release shouldn't be revoked.
So let's hope that happens before the August 25th, not 28th, point at which Trump is supposed to show up in Fulton County. But this that played on MSNBC, this is
the panel to begin.
Why I am so gosh darn tickled by recent developments. Because as Kirshner and Cohen were just saying, there's a federal version of this case essentially already cooking, and it, to me anyway. Let me keep it to what they were saying for a second. There's a federal version of this case already cooking, and Trump has not taken it seriously, and his followers have not taken it seriously because they've seen him not taking it seriously. They've seen him be disrespectful of the U.S. justice system, and they're responding in kind. Exceptions keep getting made for Trump. He keeps getting treated differently. Now check this out.
This hour, NBC's Garrett Hake, MSNBC's Katie Fang, former U.S. Attorney Chuck Rosenberg, MSNBC legal analyst Lisa Rubin, and former FBI General Counsel
That's
Chuck
the only
Rosenberg.
one I need.
Power
Rosenberg.
panel, right? But Garrett, I'm going to start with you if I can. Look, when I read this social media post by Donald Trump, he promised a large, complex, and detailed report by Monday to refute this indictment. Is it bound with footnotes and ready to go? I wondered, is his team now scrambling to come up with the report? What do we know about it?
Chris, very little. I mean, look, Tolkien wrote large, complex, and detailed volumes, too, and they were fiction. And I can't imagine that anything in this report would be anything other than that. The facts that Donald Trump says he wants here just don't exist. There weren't dead people in Georgia, or Florida for that matter, voting in the numbers that he would need to make this work. There weren't young people. There weren't out-of-state people.
Just really well put. Super well put. Tolkien also wrote a long, complex, yada, yada, and it was fiction. Yes, that is a good way to handle Trump's rambling lies. Oofa, there we go.
There weren't ballots stuffed in machines. I mean, if you go back and listen to the hour-long phone call that Donald Trump and Mark Meadows made to the Secretary of State here in Georgia, which has been kind of reduced on air so many times to that snippet about finding the 11,000 plus votes he needed to win in this state, There is every conspiracy under the sun presented at that time, more than 2 years ago now, looking for something that would provide exactly what Donald Trump describes in that Truth Social post, evidence that would exonerate him. At no point in the intervening years has that evidence been produced, and I don't anticipate it will be produced on Monday. What he's going to present in Bedminster on Monday is a huge question mark right now, but it will not be what he says it is. That simply doesn't exist.
Garrett, hey, Garrett, thank you very much. Andrew Weissman, let's talk about the scope of this indictment. I mean, 19 people in total, multiple different counts. It goes through emails and text messages and phone calls, tweets, things that taken individually don't look like criminal problems. But taken as a whole, the prosecution argues, is a criminal organization furthering a criminal effort to overturn the election. Because it's so big, is that risky for DA Fani Willis?
The answer, I'm going to be a lawyer, yes and no. So the yes is you want to present a clear, clean story that's not too complicated. This reminds me of Enron, where that was complicated, and it's like, how do you present that to a jury? That's the risk. But as Fani Willis herself said about bringing a RICO charge, is that she wants to present the whole picture to the jury of what happened. And that I do think is the right approach, which is speak up to a jury. You don't have to dumb things down. You should, rely on their common sense. So here, this does encapsulate, in brief, frankly, everything that we know that happened.
Do they run a risk, though, of a jury or a juror saying, isn't it his right to try and investigate stuff? Isn't it his right to say whatever he wants?
To be continued on what Weissman is saying, or the follow-up or whatever. I just want to talk about that first part for a second. Yeah, you run the risk of losing the forest for all the trees. What I like about the RICO charge is it is accurate above all else. When people are filing things in court, they are just formally saying things. That's all. And if they are formally describing something and it doesn't sound like the whole situation, we got a problem. So, for example, when Jack Smith, and y'all know I've had to walk back criticisms of Jack Smith enough that I am issuing this opinion with a grain of salt. But when Jack Smith filed against Trump and a bunch of DC people and focused so much on Trump, I mean, look, it was good that we were finally addressing January 6th. But the concern, I don't even want to say it's a criticism, I'm just saying the concern is that it doesn't address the fact that this was not just Donald Trump. Donald Trump cannot tie his own shoes. I would be shocked if he even know how to go about contacting people in these various states. He doesn't do work, much less grunt work. A bunch of people who were legally obligated to say, no, sir, I won't do that, very much did what he asked. Enthusiastically, it seems, did what he asked. And we got to deal with them. And we in court need to formally say, through the voice of the people, which is represented as the prosecutors here, we need to formally say what happened. At some point in some court, we had to say it. Fani Willis is the first one who's saying it. It was organized crime. It was a conspiracy to overthrow the election. That's a very serious organized crime, or rather, that's a very serious crime that this crew appears to have organized to try to pull off. But it does not change the fact that it is a case of organized crime. It is a case of a group of ne'er-do-wells, according to the prosecution, ne'er-do-welling together in a coordinated manner. And we are the victims of that crime.
Why is this criminal?
Yeah, so absolutely, it is his right to say whatever he wants publicly. As a matter of fact, the press conference that he's about to have, it might be fiction, as Garrett said. That's totally fine. That's what he's entitled to do. It's acting on it or speaking in a way that furthers a crime that is a problem. So, for instance, the charges that are making a false statement or perjury, those are pure word crimes. Those are just, and everybody under the sun knows that that's a crime. And they're prosecuted every day of the week. So it doesn't even require action. I also think the going big here, the big difference between this and what Jack Smith did is Jack Smith had unindicted co-conspirators. These are indicted co-conspirators. This is holding people to account for what they did. If you think about what the January 6th trials have been, that is holding people to account who are the foot soldiers. This is so important to the rule of law because you don't want to just look at the very top, which is Donald Trump, but what about all the enablers? It is really important that they are being held to account.
Andrew, one of the reasons that we've all been discussing and learning from you.
Andrew Weissman, well done. So to recap, great news. Tanya Chutkan is a serious judge. Jack Smith is a serious investigator. And I's are being dotted. T's are being crossed. And Fani Willis appears to be the model prosecutor. Investigator, I don't know, a district attorney person in charge of making sure the law is followed. She is doing what ought to have been done real quick following the coup. I don't want to say that we're lucky to have her, because this is what we should expect from now on. From now on, when a leader does wrong. I don't care if it's Biden. I don't care if it's a Bush. I don't care if it's a Clinton. I don't care if it's a whatever the hell. Desmond Tutu. I don't care. If a leader does wrong, now we know what holding them accountable should look like, at least from the prosecutor. This is good. This is healthy. And it's if I'm being real with you, it's long overdue. Let's see what the Wicked community has to say.